Video 21, Part 21C of 25, Outputs from the Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis process. The purpose of this video is to develop a WBS to present the deliverables from the Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis process. The Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis process is the third process in the Project Risk Management knowledge area and is related to the Planning Process Group. Like, subscribe to my channel, and share with others. Thank you. How important is the project documents updates output in the Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis process? In the PMI framework, Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis is where you prioritize individual project risks for further analysis or action. The key output isn't just a list. It's a series of critical updates to project documents. Here's a breakdown of the importance of these updates and the critical role of their components. The core importance of updating project documents. Updating project documents during qualitative risk analysis is vital for three main reasons. 1. Creates a single source of truth. Without updates, the risk assessment exists only in someone's head or on a whiteboard. Document updates ensure a formal, accessible record of which risks are most critical, why they are critical, and the rationale behind their priority. 2. Enables informed decision-making. The outputs of this process, which are the updated documents, are direct inputs to the next steps. Plan risk responses, where you can decide what to do, and perform quantitative risk analysis if needed. Poor updates lead to poor response planning. 3. Facilitates communication and stakeholder buy-in. A documented, prioritized risk list allows you to clearly communicate to sponsors, the project team, and functional managers why certain risks demand attention and resources. It builds a transparent, defensible logic for project decisions. Let's see the critical role of specific document components. The primary document updated is the risk register, but other documents play a crucial supporting role. Let's break down the critical components of each. 1. The risk register, which is the primary output. This is the living heart of risk management. During qualitative analysis, you update the following components in the risk register. First, the first component is priority, ranking. It assigns a relative score, such as high, medium or low, or a numerical ranking, to each risk. It is based on focus. Tells the team exactly which risks to spend time and money on. Prevents analysis paralysis on trivial risks. Second, the second component is probability and impact scores. It assigns a numerical, such as 0.8 for high probability, or descriptive, such as very high, high, medium, low, or very low assessment. It is based on objectivity. Forces the team to move beyond gut feeling. Creates a repeatable, comparable scale for all risks. Third, the third component is risk categorization. It tags risks by source, such as technical, external, organizational. It is based on pattern recognition. Reveals weak areas. If 70% of high risks are in the vendor management category, that's an immediate signal to investigate that process. Fourth, the fourth component is urgency. It is an assessment of how soon a risk might occur, such as imminent, near, or distant. It is based on timing. A medium probability risk that could happen next week is more urgent than a high probability risk due in 6 months. Let's take a break from the studies to explain how urgency assessment is implemented, the importance of the urgency matrix and its project phase. How urgency assessment is implemented. First, determine risk proximity. Estimate the time window until each risk could materialize, such as days, weeks, or months. Second, define urgency categories, simple scales such as imminent, when risks materialize in 0 to 1 week. Near, when risks materialize in 1 to 4 weeks. Distant, when risks materialize in less than 4 weeks. Or a numerical scale where 1 represents an urgent risk and 5 is a non-urgent risk. Third, combine with probability and impact. Even a low probability risk with imminent proximity may need immediate action if its impact is high. Fourth, assign an urgency score, flag in the risk register, such as a column, urgency, 1 to 5, or a color-coded badge. Fifth, review urgency periodically. As the project progresses, distant risks become nearer. Urgency is dynamic, not static. Here we will talk a little more about the urgency matrix, which is very important for assessing urgency and prioritizing tasks. The urgency matrix, often called the Urgent Important Matrix or Eisenhower matrix, is a powerful and widely used tool for assessing urgency and prioritizing tasks. It is a 2x2 grid that helps individuals and teams distinguish between tasks that require immediate attention and those that are truly important, mitigating the mere urgency effect, in which people prioritize urgent tasks over valuable ones. The urgency matrix is a powerful tool for prioritization, commonly known as the Urgent Important Matrix. It is typically a 2x2 grid that helps individuals and teams distinguish between tasks needing immediate attention and those that are truly important, counteracting the mere urgency effect, or the tendency to focus on urgent tasks over valuable ones. More broadly, the urgency matrix can also be defined as a simple 2x2 or 3x3 grid with time to impact on one axis and risk magnitude on the other, highlighting its importance in assessing both urgency and risk. The urgency matrix is crucial because it first prevents deadline blindness. A high-impact risk that is 6 months away should not consume resources needed for an imminent medium-impact risk. Second, enables sequencing of responses. Urgent risks demand immediate action plans. Non-urgent risks can be scheduled for later sprints or phases. Third, supports escalation decisions. An imminent risk with high impact may need sponsor attention today, while a distant high-impact risk only needs a monitoring plan. Fourth, reduces firefighting. By highlighting what must be done now, the matrix helps teams avoid last-minute surprises. In which phase of project development is it used? The urgency matrix and urgency assessment are most valuable during project execution and monitoring and controlling. But they are created during the Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis process, typically in planning, as follows. First, in the planning phase, initial urgency is assigned to each risk based on estimated occurrence dates. Second, in the execution phase, urgency is reassessed regularly, for example, weekly or at each sprint review, because time passes and risk proximity shrinks. A risk that was distant at project start becomes imminent as its deadline approaches. The impact times urgency matrix serves primarily to triage issues. This matrix addresses current problems. That is, what is happening at the present moment, and thus adopts a present-focused perspective. Third, in the monitoring and controlling phase, the urgency matrix is a key tool in periodic risk reviews to reprioritize actions and reallocate resources. As an example, suppose a 6-month software project. A risk of third-party API deprecation might be flagged as distant in month 1, but by month 5 it becomes imminent, triggering an urgent mitigation plan. Without the urgency matrix, the team might have ignored it until it was too late. After this pause to explain how the urgency assessment is implemented, let's return to our studies. Returning to the components of the risk register that are updated during the qualitative analysis, the next components are: the fifth component is risk proximity. It is a more specific timeline, such as within the first 2 sprints, or during user acceptance test phase. It is based on actionable planning. Allows you to schedule risk response actions on the project calendar. The sixth component is data quality assessment. It is a judgment on the accuracy and reliability of the risk data, such as high, medium, or low. It is based on trust. A high risk based on low-quality data is a red flag. It tells you to first investigate the risk, not respond to it. The seventh component is risk owner. It is related to the person responsible for monitoring the risk and implementing the response. It is based on accountability. A risk without an owner is a risk that will be ignored. This is assigned after priority is determined. The 8 componente is assumptions log updates. It links risks to underlying assumptions, such as risk of server failure is high, but we assumed the data center has redundant power. It is based on root cause analysis. Exposes fragile assumptions. If an assumption is likely to be false, the related risk automatically becomes higher priority. The risk report, which is a supporting document. While the register tracks individual risks, the risk report focuses on the overall project risk exposure. Its components play a different critical role. The first component is the prioritized list of individual risks. It provides a summarized, high-level view for stakeholders who don't need all the details. The second component is trends in risk analysis. It shows if risks are increasing or decreasing in priority over time. A negative trend is an early warning sign to escalate. The third component is key risk drivers. It identifies the top 3 to 5 risks that have the biggest potential impact on project success. This guides management attention. Other project documents, such as inputs that get referenced, updated. These documents are inputs that provide crucial context. They may also receive minor updates as a result of the analysis. Assumptions log. As mentioned, a critical input. You update it to flag high-risk assumptions. Issue log. If a risk has already occurred, it moves here. Qualitative analysis helps you prioritize which issues are most critical. Lessons learned register. You reference past projects to improve your probability impact assessments. You then update it with the effectiveness of your current qualitative analysis process. How can a poor project documents updates output harm the Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis process? This gets to the heart of how project management processes are interconnected. A poor project documents updates output from earlier processes can severely undermine the Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis process in multiple, cascading ways. At its core, the goal of qualitative analysis is to prioritize risks, such as high, medium, or low, so the team focuses on what matters most. This judgment-based process depends entirely on the quality of its inputs. If those inputs, the updated project documents, are flawed, the analysis becomes unreliable, leading to misallocated resources and false confidence. Below is a breakdown of the specific harms, categorized by the type of document that is poorly updated, followed by the overall consequences. 1. Poor update of the risk register, which is the primary input. The risk register is the core input for Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis. Poor updates here cause direct and critical damage. As follows. First, incomplete risk list. If risks identified earlier were not properly recorded, they won't be analyzed. The process starts with a partial, dangerously incomplete view. Second, vague or missing scoring. Probability, impact scores may be missing, inconsistent, or all set to medium. Without proper scoring, including metrics like urgency, proximity, dormancy, and manageability, the team cannot prioritize effectively. Third, corrupted prioritization. The output becomes a flat, useless list. The team may spend time analyzing a high risk that is actually low probability or far away, while a truly critical risk remains mislabeled. Fourth, missing triggers or owners. Without documented risk triggers or assigned owners, the analysis cannot guide who needs to watch for warning signs, and the subsequent risk response planning will lack accountability. 2. Poor update of assumption and constraint logs. Qualitative analysis relies heavily on testing the validity of assumptions and constraints. First, analyzing outdated assumptions. If newly invalidated assumptions aren't logged, the team wastes time analyzing risks based on false premises. Conversely, new critical assumptions that are major risk sources get overlooked. Second, hidden constraints. Unrecorded constraints, such as a newly discovered regulatory deadline, create blind spots. Risks arising from these hidden constraints won't be identified or prioritized, leading to late surprises. 3. Poor update of requirements documentation, stakeholder register, and scope baseline. These documents define what the project is and who it is for, essential for assessing impact. First, an accurate impact assessment. If scope or requirements have changed but documents aren't updated, the perceived impact of a risk, such as a feature delay, will be wrong. A risk impacting an obsolete requirement might be over-prioritized, while a risk to a critical new requirement is under-prioritized. Second, faulty stakeholder analysis. An outdated stakeholder register means key stakeholders, especially those with high power or interest, are missed when evaluating the impact dimension, often measured by stakeholder concern. Their risk tolerances won't be considered, skewing prioritization. 4. Poor update of schedule and cost forecasts baselines. Probability and impact are always judged against the current project plan. First, misjudged probability. If the schedule is already slipping but not documented, the probability of a risk causing further delay is underestimated. The team thinks they have buffer when they don't. Second, misjudged impact. An ongoing cost overrun that isn't logged distorts the assessment of a new financial risk's impact. The baseline for measuring high or low impact is corrupted, leading to inappropriate responses, such as over-engineering a response for a minor variance or under-engineering for a major threat. 5. Poor update of lessons learned repository. This is a chronic, often overlooked weakness. Qualitative analysis should leverage historical data. Repeating past mistakes. If previous projects' risk assessments, what was over-prioritized or under-prioritized, aren't documented, the current team has no empirical basis for their judgments. They are doomed to repeat the same prioritization errors, wasting effort and missing real threats. In summary, we will now show why updating project documentation is important in the qualitative risk analysis process. Accurate and up-to-date project documents, especially the risk register, assumptions log, and issue log, are essential during Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis. This process prioritizes risks by assessing their probability and impact, and document updates ensure that risk rankings reflect the current project reality. Regular updates capture newly identified risks, changes in existing risk attributes, and evolving assumptions, enabling the team to focus resources on the most critical threats and opportunities. When project documents are poorly maintained, several future processes are harmed. First, risk prioritization becomes unreliable, leading teams to overlook high-impact risks while wasting effort on obsolete or low-priority items. Second, without current data, subsequent quantitative risk analysis produces invalid models, undermining cost and schedule contingency estimates. Third, risk response planning is compromised. Responses may target risks that have already changed or disappeared, leaving active risks unaddressed. Fourth, monitoring and controlling risks loses its baseline, making trend analysis impossible and preventing early warning of risk deterioration. Fifth, communication with stakeholders suffers. Outdated reports erode trust and cause misguided decisions by sponsors or team members. Sixth, lessons learned become worthless, repeating past mistakes on future projects. Seventh, poor document updates violate organizational process asset standards, triggering audit findings and compliance issues. In summary, diligent updates to project documents during qualitative risk analysis are not mere administration, they are a cornerstone of effective risk management. Neglect here creates a cascade of failures across all subsequent risk processes, ultimately jeopardizing project success. Finishing this video, we will have in the next videos. 1. Creation of WBS for different projects using WBS Schedule Pro. 2. Examples of project plans using MS Project. And many more videos. Don't forget to give a thumbs up if you like this video and want us to continue with new topics. Subscribe to the channel. All content is free. You can also comment suggesting topics you would like to see on this channel. Thank you.